Hey, you. Yeah, you the one reading this right now. What's your name? Where are you sitting as these words hit your heart? Maybe you're scrolling on your phone in a quiet coffee shop, or maybe you're at home, the weight of the day pressing heavy on your shoulders. What's on your mind today? Is it the stress of saying yes to everyone else's demands, the exhaustion of carrying burdens that aren't yours, or the ache of feeling like you've lost yourself trying to please the world? I see you, because I've been there, trapped in a cycle of giving until I was empty. Smiling through the pain just to keep others comfortable, saying yes when my soul was screaming no. But let me hit you with a truth that'll shake your world. God's calling you right now, right where you are, to step into a life of freedom, to claim the power He's placed in you. Psalm chapter 139 verse 14 declares, "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well." That's you, wonderfully made, crafted with purpose, not to be drained by the world's demands, but to shine with His glory. So what's holding you back? What's stopping you from saying no to what's stealing your peace? God's whispering to your heart, child, you are enough. Protect the life I gave you. Stand up, say no, and walk in my truth. Let's dive into this journey together, because today I'm going to show you how one simple word, no, can change everything, setting you free to live the life God designed for you. Stick with me, because this is about to hit home. Let me take you back to a chapter of my life that still echoes in the quiet moments, a wound so deep it reshaped my soul, redefined my understanding of trust, and taught me the power of saying no through the crucible of betrayal. Years ago, when I was younger, hungrier, and still learning the weight of my own worth, I poured everything I had into a friendship I believed was eternal, a bond I thought was forged in the fire of shared dreams, mutual sacrifice, and unshakable loyalty. This wasn't just a friend. This was someone I called family, not by blood, but by choice, a brother in spirit who I believed would walk with me through any storm. We'd sit for hours under the stars, talking about life's highs and lows, dreaming of futures where we'd both rise laughing until our sides ached, praying together when the world felt too heavy to bear. I gave everything, my time, staying up past midnight to listen to their fears, their doubts, their heartaches, even when my own eyes burned with exhaustion, my energy dropping my own plans, my own dreams, to lift them up, to help them chase their goals, to be their rock when life shook them, my prayers, crying out to God on their behalf when their own words failed, when their faith wavered, and they needed someone to believe for them. I believed we were building something unbreakable, a bond that could withstand any trial, a friendship rooted in love, trust, and God's grace. But then, in a single, gut-wrenching moment, it all came crashing down like a house of cards in a storm. They turned on me, took my kindness for weakness, twisted my loyalty into a weapon to wield against me. They spread lies that cut deeper than any blade, lies that painted me as the villain in a story. I didn't write lies that spread like wildfire, burning bridges I'd spent years building. They used my trust as a stepping stone for their own ambition, leaving me standing in the wreckage of a friendship. I poured my soul into feeling like I'd been played, like my heart was just a tool for their gain, my love a currency they spent without thought. I drove home that night, the city lights blurring through my tears, parking under a flickering streetlight, my chest tight with questions that had no answers. God, why? Why did you let me give so much only to be broken? Was my trust a mistake? Was my love a fool's errand? Am I a fool for believing in someone so deeply? I sat there alone, the silence deafening my heart, shattered, wondering if I'd ever trust again, if I'd ever feel whole, if I'd ever find the courage to open my heart after such a betrayal. Have you ever been there, my friend? Have you felt that gut-wrenching pain, that soul-crushing betrayal, when someone you loved, someone you trusted with your deepest self, turned their back on you, leaving you feeling small, worthless, invisible? Maybe you're carrying that same ache right now, that weight of rejection, that sting of being used, wondering if you'll ever heal, if you'll ever feel safe enough to love again, to trust again, to be you again. Maybe you're replaying every moment, searching for where you went wrong, blaming yourself for not seeing the signs, for giving too much, for believing in someone who didn't deserve it. But in that dark, lonely moment, as I sat broken under that streetlight, God's voice broke through the silence, gentle but unshakable, speaking, through Psalm chapter 147, verse 3, affirming, "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." That betrayal wasn't God's punishment. It was His protection, His way of teaching me to guard my heart, to value my worth, to lean not on human promises, but on His eternal strength. He was clearing the path for a new journey, one where I'd walk wiser, stronger, with boundaries rooted in His truth boundaries that would protect the purpose He placed in me. And right now, He's speaking to you, my friend, through the pain, through the tears, through the wounds you carry. He's saying, "I see every hurt, every scar, every moment you felt alone. I'm binding your heart, healing your wounds, making you whole. Trust me to lead you to a future brighter than you can dream, a future where your heart is safe in my hands." Hold on tight, your story's not over. It's just beginning, and it's about to shine with His glory, a testament to His healing love, a beacon of hope for others walking through their own valleys. God didn't bring you this far to leave you broken. He's crafting you into a masterpiece, a warrior of faith ready to rise and walk in His purpose. No is not a bad word. No is not disrespect. No is not weakness. No is not failure. No is strength, a shield forged in the fire of self-respect, a declaration that you value the life God gave you. No is protection, a wall guarding your peace from those who would steal it. No is clarity, a light cutting through the fog of others' expectations, revealing the path God's laid out for you. No is leadership, a bold step toward the life He designed, a life where you thrive in His purpose. You have to respect yourself enough to say it, to stand tall in the face of pressure, to declare it without trembling, knowing it's a word backed by His authority. Say no to things that drain your energy, that sap the joy from your spirit like a slow leak in a tire, leaving you flat and weary. Say no to people who constantly take but never give, who see your heart as a resource to exploit rather than a treasure to honor, who demand your time without valuing your soul. Say no to invitations that pull you away from your purpose, luring you from the path God's laid out, with distractions dressed as opportunities, with obligations that don't align with His call. Say no to relationships that make you feel small, invisible, replaceable, like your worth is tied to how much you can give, how much you can sacrifice. Say no to obligations that leave you feeling bitter, used, and exhausted, your soul heavy with resentment, your spirit drained of the light God meant for you to shine. Because every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you are saying no to yourself, to the dreams God planted in your heart, to the calling He's whispering in your quiet moments, to the life He's calling you to live. And you've done that long enough, haven't you? You've bent until your back was breaking, until your spirit groaned under the weight of others' demands. You've smiled when your heart was screaming, hiding your pain behind a mask of kindness, hoping someone would see your sacrifice. You've poured out of an empty cup, praying they'd notice, begging in your heart for them to fill you back up, to acknowledge your worth. But they never do, because the world doesn't reward self-abandonment. It expects it unless you teach it otherwise, unless you stand firm in the truth of who you are in God's eyes. Let me tell you why. Because when you keep saying yes without boundaries, people don't see it as kindness, they see it as permission, a green light to take more, to demand more, to expect your time, your energy, your presence, even when it costs you everything, your peace, your joy, your purpose. They feel entitled to your heart, as if your life exists to serve their needs, to fill their voids, to carry their burdens, while yours go unnoticed. And that's not on them, that's on you. See, you teach people how to treat you with every choice you make, every line you draw or fail to draw, every moment you choose to honor your worth or let it be trampled. And if you never say no, if you never draw that line, if you never communicate your worth, they'll assume you have none, that your time is theirs to claim, your energy, theirs to drain, your life theirs to shape. That's not selfish. That's truth, a truth rooted in the reality that your life is a gift from God, a sacred trust meant to be stewarded, not squandered, meant to shine for His glory, not to be dimmed by others' demands. You weren't put on this earth to be everyone's solution, everyone's therapist, everyone's emotional sponge, soaking up their pain while your own heart cries out. You weren't created to constantly shrink yourself so others could stay comfortable, to dim your light so theirs could shine, to silence your soul so theirs could speak. You have a life, a sacred calling, a responsibility to yourself to honor the purpose God breathed into you before the foundations of the world, as Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5 states, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you before you were born. I set you apart." That's the weight of your worth, the truth of your purpose, and it begins with boundaries, with the courage to say no and mean it, to protect the space where God's work in you can flourish. Now, boundaries don't mean you don't love people. They mean you love yourself too, as God commands in Mark chapter 12, verse 31, which proclaims, "Love your neighbor as yourself." Notice that as yourself part, it's not just about others. It's about valuing the life God gave you, honoring the temple of your body, mind, and spirit. Boundaries mean you understand that you are not infinite, that your energy is a finite gift, a resource to be guarded, a flame to be tended so it can burn bright for His glory. You are not a machine churning endlessly without rest, without renewal. You are human, beautifully crafted in God's image, with a heart that needs space, a soul that needs rest, a spirit that needs peace to hear His voice clearly. And peace starts with no, with the courage to say, "I can't do this," or "this isn't for me," without guilt weighing you down like a chain, without shame whispering you're not enough. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't tied to how much you give, but to who you are in God's eyes, a child of the King, worthy of respect, rest, and purpose, created to reflect His love and light. I've seen too many people burn out, not because they weren't strong, but because they kept carrying what was never theirs, to hold burdens of others' expectations, weights of obligations they didn't choose, chains of guilt they didn't deserve. They carried the fear of disappointing, the pressure of being needed, until their spirits were crushed, their dreams buried under a pile of shoulds and musts that God never placed on them. And sometimes you got to drop that weight by speaking the word no. No to gossip that poisons your peace, that taints the purity of your spirit. No to drama that clouds your focus, pulling you from His path. No to manipulation that twists your kindness into a tool that uses your heart for others' gain. No to fake friendships that offer smiles but hide knives, that take your love but give nothing back. No to overcommitting, stretching yourself thin until you're transparent, a shadow of who God made Sistine Chapel made you to be. No to self-betrayal disguised as loyalty, where you sacrifice your soul to keep others happy, to keep the peace at the cost of your own. You don't need to justify your no, to explain until your voice breaks, to plead for understanding. You just need to honor it, to stand firm in the truth that your peace is worth protecting, that your purpose is worth preserving, that your life is a sacred gift from God, not a commodity to be bartered. Because every no rooted in self-respect creates space for a yes rooted in self-alignment, a yes that aligns with the destiny God's calling you toward, a yes that reflects His plan for your life, a plan to prosper you and give you hope, as Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11 affirms. And let me say this because it's a truth that'll set you free. There will be people who don't like it when you start saying no. They will be confused, their brows furrowed, their voices tinged with frustration, wondering why you're not the same person who always said yes. They will push back, testing your resolve, trying to pull you back to the old you who bent over backward, who gave until there was nothing left. They might even get angry, their words sharp, accusing you of being cold, selfish, distant, of changing in ways they don't understand. Why? Because your boundaries are interrupting their comfort, shaking the foundation of a dynamic that benefited them, that relied on your silence, your sacrifice, your willingness to shrink. They got used to you always saying yes to you, putting their needs above your own, to you carrying their burdens while neglecting yours. They liked the version of you who never stood up for yourself, who let their demands trump your dreams, who stayed silent when your soul was screaming. They benefited from your silence, from your willingness to give until you were empty. Well, you're not that version anymore. You're evolving, growing, healing, stepping into the person God created you to be, a person who walks in His truth, who shines with His light. And that's going to scare some people, make them uncomfortable, make them walk away. But let them be scared. Let them talk. Let them walk. Because the real ones, the ones who truly care for you, who see your worth through God's eyes, who value your heart as a reflection of His love, they will honor your no just as much as your yes. They'll respect your boundaries because they respect your soul, because they want you to thrive, not just survive, because they know your life is a sacred gift meant to glorify Him. You see, there's a power that comes with learning to say no, a calm power, a quiet confidence that don't need to shout to be heard, that don't need to prove itself to be felt. It's not loud, not flashy, not demanding attention like a neon sign in a dark alley. It just is steady and unshakable, rooted in the truth of who you are in God's eyes, anchored in His love. Because when you start saying no from a place of self-respect, you stop apologizing for existing, for taking up space, for having needs, for being human. You stop feeling guilty for putting yourself first, for choosing your peace over their demands, for honoring the life God gave you. You stop carrying guilt for taking care of your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, for nurturing the temple God made you to be. Let me be real with you. You've got one life, one you don't get to rewind, no pause button, no do-overs, no outsourcing to someone else. It's a gift from God, a sacred journey, a canvas painted with His purpose, not a resource to be spent on people and situations that leave you empty, drained, a husk of the vibrant soul He created. Why keep pouring it out on those who don't value it, who take without giving, who expect your light to shine for them while dimming your own? Why keep giving your time, your heart, your energy to those who don't see it as a treasure, who don't honor the divine spark God placed in you?
I'm not saying
Don't serve God calls us to serve, to love, to lift others up with the strength He provides, as 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10 declares. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace. I'm not saying don't help others as love flows through us to those around us, a river of grace meant to bless. But you cannot help anyone if you're constantly abandoning yourself, if you're running on empty, giving from a place of depletion rather than abundance, pouring out when your own cup is dry. No is a form of service because it tells the truth, a truth rooted in God's wisdom, a truth that honors His design for your life. No says I'm not available for things that violate my values, that pull me from His path, that dishonor the purpose He placed in me. No says I am protecting what matters most, my peace, my purpose, my calling, the life God entrusted to me. No says I'm no longer tolerating what my soul can't afford, what God didn't intend for me to carry. And here's the beautiful thing, the truth that'll make your spirit soar. Every time you say no to what's wrong, you make space to say yes to what's right, to what aligns with His plan, to what sets your soul on fire for His glory. Yes to the people who respect your time, who see your heart as a treasure, not a tool, who walk beside you in faith and love. Yes to the opportunities that align with your vision, that ignite the gifts God gave you, that move you closer to His purpose. Yes to the version of you that doesn't play small, that doesn't shrink to fit others' expectations, that stands tall in His truth. Yes, to peace the kind that surpasses understanding, as Philippians chapter 4, verse 7 confirms. Yes, to purpose, the calling God etched into your soul before you were born. Yes, to progress the steps forward into the life He designed for you, a life of abundance, joy, and unshakable faith. But you'll never get there if you keep letting everyone into your space, if you keep opening the door to those who don't belong in your story, who don't honor the journey God's leading you on. Some folks don't deserve access to you. Not your time, not your heart, not your energy, not your life. Let me say that again for the people in the back, loud and clear. Some people don't deserve access to your time, your heart, your energy, or your life. Not because they're bad people, but because they're not aligned with where God's taking you, with the purpose He's unfolding in you, with the destiny He's crafting for His glory. They're not part of the chapter He's writing, the story He's telling through your life. And your future deserves a more disciplined you, a more decisive you, a more self-respecting you, one who walks in His truth, who guards the sacred space He created in you. You can't grow into that version of yourself if you're constantly stuck in obligations you never wanted, trapped in commitments that suffocate your spirit, chained to expectations that don't serve his plan, that pull you from the path he's laid out. And that's the trap, the subtle snare that catches so many. Most people don't realize they're stuck, not because of big failures, but because of 1,000 little yeses they never meant to say yes, that piled up like bricks, building a wall between them and their God-given purpose. Yes to projects they hated that drained their creativity, that stole their joy. Yes to events they didn't want to attend that took hours they'll never get back, hours meant for his purpose. Yes to people who never showed up for them, who took their love and gave nothing in return, who left them empty. Yes to the fear of being disliked that kept them silent when they should have spoken, that kept them small when God called them to soar. Yes to the guilt of disappointing others that made them betray their own hearts, their own dreams, their own calling. And what did it cost? Their time, their health, their dreams, their identity, the very essence of who God created them to be, the masterpiece he crafted for his glory. So let me ask you something personal, something that hits right at the core of your soul, something that demands you look inward. How many times have you betrayed yourself just to keep someone else comfortable? How many times have you said yes with your mouth while your soul screamed no, while your spirit begged for rest, for relief, for freedom? How many nights have you lain awake, replaying those moments, wishing you'd chosen yourself, wishing you'd honored the voice God gave you, the purpose he placed in you? How many times have you felt that ache, that quiet grief for the person you could have been if you'd said no, if you'd stood up, if you trusted God's plan over the world's demands? It's time to stop. It's time to stop negotiating your boundaries, bartering your peace for approval, trading your purpose for acceptance. It's time to stop shrinking your needs to fit into spaces you've outgrown, to fit into relationships, careers, and conversations that no longer hold you, that no longer reflect the person God's shaping you to be. You weren't built for everyone's comfort. You were built for your own truth, a truth rooted in his purpose, his love, his calling. And truth requires boundaries. Truth requires strength. Truth requires that word most people are afraid to say no. Now let's be honest, because truth is where freedom begins. Saying no won't always feel good at first. Sometimes it'll sting like pulling a thorn from your flesh, sharp and raw. Sometimes it'll be lonely, like standing alone in a crowd, the silence heavy with others' disapproval. Sometimes you'll question yourself, asking, did I do the right thing? Was I too harsh? Should I have given in just one more time? You'll feel the weight of others' disappointment, the pressure of their expectations pressing against your resolve, tempting you to back down, to say yes, to keep the peace. But trust me, my friend, in the long run, you'll be glad you did, because peace isn't always immediate, but it's always worth it. Every no you say today becomes a yes to peace tomorrow, a yes to a life aligned with God's purpose, a life where you thrive, not just survive. Romans chapter 15, verse 13 proclaims that the God of hope fills you with joy and peace as you trust in him, overflowing with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. That's the promise waiting on the other side of your no, a life overflowing with his peace, his joy, his purpose. Let's get one thing straight, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Saying no is not a rejection of others. It's a declaration of your priorities, a bold stand for the life God called you to live, a life rooted in his truth. And when you start living from a place of purpose, you no longer say yes just to be liked, to fit in, to avoid conflict, to dodge the sting of disapproval. You say yes because it aligns, because it fits, because it supports the mission God placed in your heart, the purpose he's calling you to fulfill. And if it doesn't, you say no without guilt, without shame, without second-guessing your worth, because your worth is rooted in him, not them. Now hear me, because this is where your soul needs to listen close. There's a version of you waiting to be born, a bold, focused, fearless version. A version that walks in the fullness of God's calling, but it's suffocating under the weight of your people pleasing, under the burden of yeses you never meant, under the chains of expectations you weren't meant to carry. That version of you doesn't waste time trying to make everyone happy because they finally realize something that changed everything. You can't please everyone, and you don't need to. God didn't create you to be everyone's answer. He created you to be his masterpiece, as Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10 confirms, crafted for good works he prepared in advance. The moment you let go of that illusion of pleasing everyone is the moment you start living in truth, walking in his light, shining with his purpose, radiating his glory. Some people will misunderstand your "no call you cold," say you've changed, whisper that you're not who you used to be. And you know what, that's the point. You were supposed to change to grow, to outgrow the patterns that kept you small, that kept you chained to others' expectations, that kept you from the fullness of his plan. That's not betrayal, that's evolution, a transformation guided by God's hand, a journey from brokenness to wholeness. You're not responsible for how others feel about your boundaries. You're responsible for enforcing them with consistency and calm, for stewarding the life God gave you, for honoring the purpose he placed in you. And let me tell you something else, something that'll light a fire in your soul. Every time you honor your boundaries, you get stronger, like a tree sinking deeper roots into his truth, standing taller against the storms. You start to walk taller, your steps sure and steady, grounded in his strength. You speak with more conviction, your voice carrying the weight of his authority, unshaken by the world's noise. You move differently with a confidence that comes from knowing you're aligned with his plan, walking the path he carved for you. Why? Because you're finally living in alignment, in sync with the rhythm of his purpose, moving to the beat of his calling. And alignment feels like peace, like sleeping well at night, because you didn't betray yourself for temporary comfort, because you didn't trade your soul for fleeting approval. It feels like walking into a room knowing you didn't water yourself down just to be accepted, knowing you're standing in the truth of who God made you to be. That's freedom. That's real confidence. That's the power of power rooted in God's truth, a power that sets you free to live for him. Let me be clear, because this is a truth you need to hold tight. You're not here to explain your every decision, to justify why you need rest, why you didn't pick up the phone, why you declined that invite, why you turned down that deal, why you walked away from what didn't serve you, what didn't honor his purpose. Your peace is reason enough, a gift from God worth protecting, a treasure worth guarding. And the more you practice saying no, the easier it gets. At first, it feels like rebellion, like you're breaking some unspoken rule, defying the expectations of a world that demands your yes. But with time, it becomes rhythm, a natural part of your walk with God, a dance of faith and strength. Eventually, it becomes second nature, as instinctive as breathing, as natural as trusting his guidance. And before you know it, you'll look around and realize your life is filled with only what belongs, no clutter. No drama, no chaos disguised as connection, just clarity, just people who respect you, who honor your heart, who walk beside you in faith, just commitments that feed your soul, that fuel your purpose, that glorify him. Your life becomes a reflection of his design, a canvas painted with his purpose, free from the weight of what doesn't belong. But it starts now with courage, the courage to say, no, I can't make it. No, I'm not available for that. No, I don't have the capacity right now. No, this. No doesn't mean I don't care. It means I care enough about myself to choose what's right for me, what honors the life God gave me, what aligns with his purpose. That kind of strength doesn't come overnight, but it comes like a seed growing into a mighty oak under his care, like a warrior rising under his training. And when it does, it transforms you, reshapes you into the person God created you to be, unshakable in his truth, radiant with his light. Let me tell you this, because it's a truth that'll anchor your soul. Peace isn't passive, it's intentional. A deliberate choice to guard what God entrusted to you, to protect the sacred space he created in you. It doesn't just show up and make itself comfortable like an uninvited guest settling in. You have to clear space for it, sweep out the clutter of others' demands, the noise of their expectations. You have to guard it like a shepherd protecting his flock from wolves, like a warrior defending his ground. You have to defend it from every energy, every voice, every pressure that tries to invade your soul without permission, that tries to pull you from his path, that tries to dim the light he placed in you. And that's what no really is. It's a gate, a guardrail, a spiritual declaration that your life is no longer open to anything that doesn't align with your purpose, with the calling God placed in you before the world began, with the destiny he's unfolding for his glory. You see, when you were younger, you might have said yes to fit in, to belong, to feel loved, to fill the void of loneliness. You said yes because you were scared to be alone, terrified of the silence that comes with standing apart, afraid of the rejection that might follow. You said yes because you didn't want to disappoint, because you thought saying no would make you less, would make you unlovable. You said yes because you thought being needed meant being loved, that your worth was tied to how much you could give, how much you could do, how much you could be for others. But now you're older, wiser, battle-tested by life's storms, shaped by God's grace. Now you've lived a little, felt the weight of giving when you had nothing left, felt the exhaustion of pouring out of an empty cup. Now you've been tired, bone-weary, soul-weary from carrying burdens God never meant for you to bear. And now you know better because God's shown you through His Word, His wisdom, His gentle correction. You've learned that love without respect is manipulation, a chain dressed in affection, a trap that binds your heart. That approval at the cost of authenticity is a cage, a prison that keeps you small, that keeps you from His purpose. That acceptance built on your silence is just control wearing a smile, a lie that dims your light, that muffles the voice God gave you. And now you speak up, your voice steady with His strength, bold with His authority. Now you protect yourself, guarding the heart God gave you, shielding the purpose He placed in you. Now you pause before you agree, you pray, you seek His guidance, asking, is this in alignment with who I'm becoming, with the person God's shaping me to be, with the purpose He's calling me to? And if the answer is no, then the answer is no. No guilt, no over-explaining, no chasing after approval, just peace. The peace that comes from walking in His truth, from trusting His plan. Isaiah chapter 26 verse 3 declares, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. That's the peace waiting for you, the peace you claim with every no, the peace that anchors you in His love. Let me tell you something powerful, something that'll set your soul on fire, something that'll make you stand taller. Every time you say no to something beneath your value, you are saying yes to your future, to the life God's preparing for you, to the destiny He's unfolding for His glory. You're saying yes to energy that nourishes instead of depletes, that fills you with His strength, that fuels your soul. Yes to relationships that build instead of break, that honor your heart as a reflection of His love, that walk beside you in faith and truth. Yes to work that fulfills instead of frustrates, that aligns with the gifts He gave you, that glorifies His name. Yes to a version of you that doesn't need to be everything for everyone, because they've finally learned to be everything for themselves, rooted in His purpose, anchored in His love. You're not being mean, you're being mature, growing into the fullness of who God created you to be, stepping into His plan with boldness. You're not selfish, you're centered, anchored in His truth, standing firm in His calling. You're not pushing people away, you're pulling yourself closer to your calling, closer to your truth, closer to the life waiting on the other side of your boundaries, a life radiant with His glory, a life overflowing with His purpose. But here's the thing, and don't miss this, not everyone will understand, and that's okay. You're not doing this for applause, for validation, for the world's approval. You're doing this for alignment, for sanity, for the sacred purpose God placed in you, for the life He called you to live. You're doing this because you finally realized that saying no doesn't close every door, it opens the right ones. The ones God's been preparing, the ones that lead to His plan, to His promise, to His peace. Now listen, this journey you're on, it's not about becoming harder. It's about becoming wiser, about letting God's wisdom guide your steps, about letting His truth shape your choices. It's about learning that kindness doesn't mean sacrificing your sanity, that love doesn't mean giving away your identity, that support doesn't mean silence when your soul is screaming, when your spirit is crying out for rest, for peace, for Him. Your no is not just a boundary, it's a mirror reflecting how much you've grown, how far God's brought you, how deeply He's working in you. It shows the world that you've stopped negotiating your worth, that you've embraced the truth of who you are in His eyes, that you've claimed the value He gave you. It proves that you finally realized you are enough even when you're not available, because your worth comes from Him, not them, from His love, not their approval. And isn't that the core of it all, the heart of this journey, respecting yourself enough to say, I don't owe my energy to everyone. I'm allowed to rest. I have the right to choose who I allow into my space. I can be a good person and still say no. Because the truth is this, you don't need to explain your healing to defend your peace to convince people that your growth is valid. You just need to walk in it to move with the confidence of someone who knows boundaries don't push love away. They protect it, guide it, allow it to flourish without expectation or entitlement, rooted in God's love, grounded in His truth. Walk like someone who's been through enough to know that peace isn't just a want. It's a non-negotiable, a gift from God you're called to guard, a treasure you're called to cherish. And from now on, let your life reflect that. Let your schedule reflect that, filled only with what honors His purpose, what fuels your soul. Let your relationships reflect that, surrounded by those who respect your heart, who see your worth through His eyes. Let your yes carry weight because it's no longer buried under a pile of fake, forced people-pleasing nods, but lifted by His strength, empowered by His love. And when they ask, why are you so protective of your time now? You say, because I finally realized my time is my life and I don't give either away lightly anymore, because it's a gift from God, a sacred trust. When they ask, why don't you answer every call, show up for every event, say yes like you used to, you say, because I love myself too much to live exhausted, and God's called me to steward my life well, to live for His glory. And when they say you've changed, you smile, you breathe, and you say exactly. Because that's what self-respect looks like. That's what healing sounds like. That's what growth feels like, a transformation guided by His hand, a journey from brokenness to wholeness, from chaos to peace. So next time you feel that pressure, that tension in your gut, when someone asks for more than you can give, when that familiar guilt tries to creep back in, pause, breathe. And remember, you have the right to say no. And you don't need a reason to protect your peace, because God's already given you one. You are His child, His masterpiece, created for His purpose, loved with His everlasting love. You've given enough. You've explained enough. You've sacrificed enough. Now it's your turn to build, to heal, to thrive in the life He's called you, to live a life radiant with His glory. So respect yourself enough to say no, and let the rest fall where it may. Because when you choose peace over pressure, alignment over approval, wholeness over hustle, you don't just say no to them, you say yes to you, to the life God's calling you to live, to the purpose He's placed in your heart, to the future He's crafted for His glory. Conclusion: rise up, shine bright, and share your heart, my friend. You're still here, standing stronger than you know, a warrior shaped by God's unending love, a masterpiece carved by His purpose, a light blazing in His glory. What's your name, my friend? Where are you right now, carrying that spark of His divine fire? What's stirring in your heart today? The pain of past betrayals, the weight of others' expectations, or the hope of a new beginning that hurt? You've carried that betrayal, that cut so deep, that moment you felt invisible. It didn't break you. It's building you into something unstoppable, a beacon of His hope, a vessel of His grace. God's been with you through every tear, every scar, weaving your pain into a powerful story of redemption. As Psalm chapter 30, verse 5 proclaims, weeping may stay for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Your morning is breaking through brighter than the sun, filled with His promises, radiant with His love. He's calling you right now, saying, my child, you are enough. I see your heart, your strength, your purpose. Rise up, say no to what dims your light, and say yes to the life I've planned for you, a life of joy, peace, and unshakable faith. Don't let go now. Stand tall, protect your peace, and chase the calling He's placed in your soul. I want to hear your story, because it's powerful, because it matters. What's one moment we're saying no? Set your spirit free. Drop 100 in the comments if you're ready to claim your worth, to walk boldly in His truth, and share this message with someone who needs to feel God's love today. Tell me, what's a time God gave you the strength to set a boundary, to say no and find His peace? How has that one word no changed your life, opened doors to His purpose, brought you closer to His heart? Let's build a family of faith right here, lifting each other up, sharing our journeys of healing, growth, and victory in His name. Hit that subscribe button, join this movement, and let's run toward the purpose God set before us together with hearts wide open. Share your testimony. What's one way God's guiding you to guard your peace, to step into His plan? What's a moment where his love reminded you who you are? Pour it out in the comments. Pass this message to someone who's hurting, and let's light up the world with his glory. We're in this together, my friend. God's got you. I'm cheering you on, and together we're going to shine brighter than ever. Let's rise. Let's shine. Let's live for him.